Hello everyone and welcome to Talk Together. Thank you for joining us for an evening of talking about Dungeons and Dragons. I am not David Shears. David Shears is a very busy bee at the moment, so I'm taking over for today. I am Chris. You probably know me from other Roll Together things. Yeah. As you
I am expecting, by the way, having watched some of these though, I'm going to hold you to the same standard of terrible puns and terrible segues.
No, I can't. I'm so bad at puns and segues. It will be... I think where David probably is more of the Graham Norton, I will probably aim for more of the, I don't know. I had a thought there and it's just vanished. It wasn't useful at all. That's what I'm going to be.
Fair enough.
That's the kind of host I'm going to be. Yeah.
I will attempt to
conversant.
Fill in, but no, he's so good at them.
So good at them. I don't know how he does it. I'm not a pun person. I like them, but I can't do them. I mean, I've said before, I'm not a funny person. Humour is not my strong suit.
I am very serious.
No, not so much serious as I don't tell jokes very well. I think that's more of it than anything else. Anyway, we started off well. It rambled, because that's me, and I ramble to everything that I do. It's a segue. There it is. So yes, we're talking through some enticing questions and adventurous anecdotes with Natalie, who you can see. See, I can do things David does. And we'll be rolling dice to see what questions we ask. Before we kick off, we run for about an hour, and we'd like to be sponsored by Hero Forge, Ultra Pro, and Elderwood Academy, and supported by D&D Beyond, Warriors of Waterdeep, and Level Up Dice. We'll roll together RPG on all of the socials. See, this is wrong now because we're not on all the socials. I keep getting upbraided about this because we're not on TikTok. We are not TikTokers.
Or the Snapchat.
Are companies on Snapchat?
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm not. So
no,
I'm not down with the kids.
No, me neither. I mean, I think we're similar age now. I don't know, but I thought Snapchat was for sending rude pictures.
Oh,
is it not?
I think it's a mix of that and where all of the fun filters and memes originally came from, right? Right.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, well, I'm sure chat is mercilessly ribbing me for being old now, so that's good. Anyway, it's Roll Together RPG everywhere on the internet, so if you can't find us on a social media, we're probably not on it because we're old. But more importantly, we are available as a podcast. If you are listening to this as a podcast, hello, thank you for joining us during doing your washing up or on a walk. We really appreciate it. And just search Roll Together RPG on your favorite podcasting app. We're basically everywhere. If we're not on your favorite podcasting app, let us know, and we will find a way to add ourselves to it. That's the game. Anyway, Nat, we're going to roll some dice, and we're going to ask some questions. Before we start, do you want to intro yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Hello, I am Natalie, often known as Nat. That is fine. I use she, her pronouns. I do a lot of things that kind of come under the umbrella of storyteller, including acting, voice acting, directing. When I'm able to be in a room with other people and touch them, I swing swords. And
you're really good at swinging swords. I mean, this is not good. Like saying I swing swords is like you saying, "Oh, I occasionally do VO work." You do amazing stuff. Your sword stuff is really cool.
Thank you. I mean, you've not seen any of it, have you?
Video.
Videos, yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I was going to say you have no proof. I could be lying out of my ass.
The internet is full of videos.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time, but thanks pandemic. But hopefully at some point soon I'll be able to pretend to stab people again.
I just remembered. You and I spoke about this a long time ago. I found you in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, you did?
I found you. Oh,
hey!
What are you doing? No, it's Anglo-Saxon, but it's definitely you. I recognise your dulcet tones. Sorry, Nat does background VO for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've been playing it for ages going, where is Nat? I must find Nat.
I will find it.
Yeah. I think I found you. I'm pretty sure I found you anyway. Anyway, should we roll that dice? Roll
that dice.
I have been informed it should be roll that die because it's one.
Okay. Yeah,
but
it doesn't say the scansion is not right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Sorry, grammar. Scansion wins this time.
Wow. Off the bat, Nat 20.
And every 20 is a nat 20 with me.
Every stream we do it at least once, don't we? Anyway, Nat, natural 20 means I ask you this. What character was the hardest to say goodbye to? We're opening hard.
So I feel like I'm not going to give a very satisfying answer to this because I've not really had to say goodbye to any characters yet.
Interesting.
I think I've had to say farewell for now. To characters. There's definitely characters I would like more of a stab at. Valka definitely has unfinished business, I think.
Oh, big granny energy, Valka.
She has unfinished business on behalf of other people that she would want to see through. But yeah, I don't know. All of the characters that I've played have been really fun to play and would be nice to return to, but I've not had any like dramatic deaths so far.
No.
Yeah, like even with home game characters, I've never had like a dramatic death or a character that has walked away from a situation never to return. It's always been that story is finished for now, but the character will live on, could be returned to at some point.
I mean, in Valka's case in particular, what strikes me is that you've said she didn't have a story outside of other people, but I felt like we were just starting to get to terms with this idea of something very cool that you did that I've not seen in a very long time, which is a character who is, I am an adventurer. I'm an end-of-life adventurer. I've had my life, I've had my husband, I've had my kids, and now I'm going off to do my own thing, which for me is such an open door. Like, you have so much potential to go and do, like, having Valka turn up in random other adventures makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is, when I say, like, her story doesn't exist outside the context of other people, I mean, like, the continuation of the plot that happened in Seekers of Elturel.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it would not make sense for her to appear in any other stories until that had been resolved, unless they were out of timeline.
Yeah,
like, that is the very next thing that she is going to do, is help Veracity. But she has all this stuff with her backstory and her family, which I George asked me, like, is there anything that you particularly want to bring up or deal with this character? And I was kind of like, you know what, I want to see what comes out of it. And what came out of it for me, her character growth in that was the reassurance that she's still got it.
Yeah.
You know, and she can still do things. And that her kids will be okay without her. And that kind of leaves her open to, like you say, doing anything, which is exciting.
It's an odd one. I had a really interesting connection to that character because obviously I'm a parent, and I am also my parents are grandparents now, and yeah, that essence of I can go and do my own thing now, can't I? That's a sentence that my mum has said to me. Like, there is this sense of life now. We can now go and do things we left out of doing, and in a D&D context, going to adventure seems. And also that motherly energy came through. You mothered the entire party, basically, but also in a way that didn't feel presumptive or descriptive, which parenting often can. I thought it was a really lovely setup.
And I think that can be the case with found families and adoptive parents, not in the traditional legal adoption sense, but in people who are older than you that give you that kind of mentor function. And they don't have all of the I guess neuroses of parents to their own children to accidentally put on. So they can come across as, oh, these are the wise people that do it right, but really she's probably made so many fuck ups with her own children. I
mean, don't we all? That's kind of part of being a parent. I mean, my parents joked to me that you realize how much you screwed up your own kids when they have kids, because then you see the behavior, you go, oh, that's not very good. Oh no, we did that. Like, it's a learned procedure, and then you go, okay, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that is learned behavior, because also it showcases what to work on. And any parent that says I'm a perfect parent is a liar. There is no such thing. It is always about failing forward and finding new ways of working with your child. Yeah, but I really loved that. That was a beautiful take on a character. I do want to see Valka again, but you're right, we need to conclude that arc first. Or we could just have them appear later and with an it's already done, or it already happened and it all happened off screen. I mean, that's kind of fun as well to a certain extent. I don't know. I mean, we've got so much choice, haven't we? We can do what we like.
If it happens off screen, we're going to have a collective storytelling, like write it, what actually happened. I don't want to take responsibility for that on my own.
I mean, I'd almost just turn to George and say, what do you think happened? And George gets to decide. I'd really enjoy that. And tells all of you, here you go, this is what happened.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. As much as George is an amazing writer, and to be honest, I would trust him. Yeah. I also would want to stick my oar in. So
that's the point of D&D, isn't it? It is an incredible writers working together, and that melting pot being where it all fits together. Okay, spinning off the question a little bit. Have you experienced any character deaths that you felt were particularly strong? Is that something that you've seen in game or been involved with in game?
Ooh, okay, so branching out from D&D towards TTRPGs in general.
Yeah, sure.
As well as Roll Together, I also publicly play with merely role players.
Yes.
And we release as a podcast-only format.
I'll make sure there's a link in chat. I kind of thoroughly recommend.
Yeah, please do. Really it's really good fun. And we generally play games that are based off the Powered by the Apocalypse engine rather than D&D. At the moment, we're running a series called Vigil, which is based off the Monster of the Week engine, and that is more of a kind of a properly constructed show. We do sound design. I do sound design for it, and but prior to Vigil, each series that we did, each series ran for about 4 to 6 episodes, was based off a different genre. So they did, before I joined, they did a series that was like a Famous Five, or they did a horror one, or they did a Western one. And I joined for the Sky Pirates series, nice. Which was so much fun, the Cloud Skipper's captain. And one of the players, Strat, has... I mean, I guess this is spoilers, but also it's been out a very long time.
It's a podcast. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah. But also spoilers. He comes back. So, but because each one's a different genre and happens sort of on its own. He's had a couple of times where he has died, but for the cause.
Yeah.
And being sat in the room whilst he made that decision. The series was Prospero, where we were on a cruise ship that crash landed on a desert island.
Nice.
There was something very weird with this desert island, and it got very dramatic. There was a volcano going off. There were all sorts of very strange things happening, and I won't go into detail on those too much because that is big plot that people might be interested to be not spoiled about. But it got to a point where one of the other players, Josh, and I refer to it by first names because we are playing versions of ourselves and not characters in those, which
sort
is...
of alternate universe style stuff where you're bouncing...
Exactly.
Cool,
exactly.
Lovely. Cool.
So I was playing Nat, how Nat would cope being... wrecked on a desert island, which went from panicking because I can't really swim that well to okay, I know theory of fighting, I guess hunting, and I used to do guides and air cadets, so practical scouts.
This is why I can't do shows like that. What would you do? Sit around, smoke, and vaguely say nihilistic things until it's done. That's what I'd do.
Oh, we're all screwed.
It was all worthless anyway to begin with.
But yeah, so the point was, it was all going horribly wrong. There was a volcano going off. Josh had fallen down a cliff and broken his leg. God. We were trying to get to him and sort things out. And Strat realized something fundamental about what was going on with the universe and faded into nothingness.
Oh, wow.
At which point a helicopter came along to rescue us.
Right.
And it was, we all sat there going... But it's a podcast, so you can't see that, but you can kind of hear it in our voices where we're like, what?
What just happened?
What happened?
That's very
But
cool.
yeah, it was one of those where we realised the rules by which Matt, our DM, the rules that he had constructed in this world, we had realised the game, the meta game, and Strat had realised a way to bend the rules so we could survive. So, and it was very cool.
It gives me Stranger Things vibes, that does. Really gives me that sort of sense of a sort of false reality that you can sort of control. Cool, that's very interesting.
Very that.
Yeah. That's so good.
He is so good.
So good. I mean, frankly, every time I see another show or listen to another show, I just go, list of things I'm nicking from this DM, right, and just start writing them all down. So people are so amazing. Everyone has such different takes. I really love that.
He's a really lovely person as well, which helps.
He came to a live show at one point, didn't he? He did.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. He was very kind. Yes, the days where we could do live shows.
One day.
One day.
One day, maybe.
No, we'll see. See what Boris says. Anyway, should we roll another dice, see what comes up?
Let's roll that dice / dice.
Roll that dice / dice. Digital dice rolling. There it goes. Okay. Oh, David has a really nice phrase he uses. There it goes, bouncing across the screen. What will it mean? I can't remember. He's really good at this. Here we go. 11. Who is your favourite character?
Oh. See, I think from the characters that I've played, again, out of Roll Together characters, I like, as much as I love Tommus and he is current Bay, I would go straight back to Valka, I think. Because not only did I get to play with some of the concepts that we talked about this idea of her being older and having lived life, but also I think, so she was one of the first characters that I got to sit with for a long time. A bit of backstory. I mean, this question may come up later, but actually, before I started working with Roll Together, I'd never played a campaign of D&D. I'd only ever played one-shots, a lot of one-shots, but not a campaign. And I'd played other TTRPGs where we'd played longer series, but yeah, so she was the first one that I got to have a longer arc with, a more established relationship with, and she's just lovely. Yeah,
I mean, they do stick with you. The longest arcs I've done have always been D&D, but I have done a couple of others, and I do find with D&D characters because you're always, D&D is built around, I mean, I say this all the time when I'm talking to friends about why D&D is different from other things. D&D has a whole plethora of rules about social encounters and about talking to each other and roleplay, which is really lovely. But in the end, D&D is a game where the rules are largely based around combat, which means that most D&D games invariably become, you are fighting for your lives, or you're fighting for someone else's life, or for a goal. So there's always that sense of striving. Where in other TTRPGs, I sometimes feel like there's a sort of, we did this thing, and there's no, I have to roll this dice and see what happens if it doesn't get this, and if my 5 abilities don't combine to do this, we're not going to win. Like, there's a D&D, I feel the loss of D&D characters, and I feel the sort of arc of them much more keenly because everything feels grasped for. Does that make sense? And with Valka, you did a lot of, like, there was a lot of making sure stuff happened. A lot, like, my favorite moments of Valka, when I think of them, are combat moments. Like tanking for players, standing in someone else's way. Basically, what's Ron Weasley's mum called?
Not Ginny. Ginny's the sister. Molly.
Yeah.
She's very Molly Weasley energy.
Yeah, but like Molly Weasley energy of get off her, you bitch, kind of like standing in front of people, especially with Veracity and some of the less physically sort of, well, Viorica as well, some of the less physically sort of characters that can take a hit or two. And they're the things that stand out. Like, you strive through adversity with your D&D characters in a certain way. Why isn't it Tommus now? Why isn't it Tommus? Tommus is so great.
He is also
he's
very
not your character,
great.
is he? You didn't make him.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, there was pressure with Tommus. This is someone else's character.
Yeah.
They have thought out. They've got the background. They've designed him. The pressure of successfully and truthfully, like, playing that character, doing it right. Like, with a character you create, there's no right or wrong way.
No.
With a character someone else has created, it's D&D, so there's no right and wrong way, but there is a right and wrong way, really. Like, if I'd have stormed in as Tommus and been like, hey, let's go kill some kobolds here, that would have been completely out of the realms. I think so.
For your portrayal, I agree with you 100%, but if someone else had taken that character, it would have been different, because Tommus in the game is a 3D figure.
Yeah.
Because it's not a game of role play. It's not a game of role or ROLE play. It's a game of dice and hitting things, so there's not a lot of character. So everything we put in.
I mean, you say that, but my choices with Tommus were based very much on the description that Ludia gave you that you passed on to me.
Yes.
And the character sheets that Ludia had pre-created for, not the ones that we use, but on their website, they have character sheets for their characters.
I think they're ours now. I think those ones are gone and it's just ours now.
Okay. Because on that character sheet, it said things for Tommus like he does not trust easily as well. Which is something that they didn't specifically say to us.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
it's true.
So there's things like that I'd brought into him, and the shyness as well. Obviously, at the start, very shy, but yeah. So I don't think kind of rocking up all guns blazing would have been true to those descriptions I was given.
True.
Whether it was true to the model in game,
honestly,
a lot of people don't get to see the background.
I mean, I don't know. But I don't think that's a problem. I think part of the joy of streaming an actual play of a game where the characters aren't voiced is that you've got all that freedom to go. What are we going to develop? Like, you know, I mean, one of my favorite things about Warriors as a stream, I mean, the last episode's on Tuesday, so it's just coming up and we're nearly done. I mean,
sometimes...
Yes, we did pre-record it, so it's already done and we know what happens, but...
Spoilers.
Spoilers. But without talking about the ending, adding stuff in like a budding romance for two of the characters, which, I mean, it came out of nowhere. We didn't plan that.
No. We were told that it was something that Ludia were not opposed to.
I think what happened was I asked, what if it happens? Ludia went, we don't really care. At which point we went, well, maybe it should happen, but we didn't sort of specify.
Yeah. I don't know. It was not something that after our conversation, I knew it was something that could be on the cards, but I didn't actively push it. I just bounced off the energy that Emma was giving.
I mean, that is
which
Emma.
I think is the only way to do a romance. I think if you try and force it, it can be
weird. It'd be weird. Yeah, it's true. Unless it's scripted, which we've never done scripted content like that. I know that it's a thing that exists and we could do, but I've never seen the appeal. I think D&D works best when that randomness is what drives the whole thing. But yeah, I still the small moments of like, I hold that person's hand or I hold that person's hand back just defined all of that for me more than the mobile game, even though the mobile game is literally my representation of the world because it has to be. I thought that was very sweet. But I suppose it wasn't yours. It was stuff you brought into an existing... I mean, you do a lot of VO work. You do a lot of acting work. Where you're presumably taking on other people's characters all the time. So was this different or was it similar?
Well, it was different in that it was not scripted, right? Yeah. So when I'm doing voiceover, I'm taking on someone else's character, but I have all the words written there for me. When I'm doing acting, I have all the words written there for me, unless it's a devised piece, in which case, much like Belka, it's my character. Sure. If I'm devising it, it's within the context of what the director and the overall writer is trying to achieve, but I still have major input on the character. But typically it's words that are written, so I can dive into that text and pull it apart and find motivations and find the inner monologues and where the thoughts are coming from. And that analysis then gives me the empowerment to go forth and be. But I feel very pretentious actor right now.
I mean, I do think it's a funny thing about what we do, like, because people talk about role-playing games, and this comes up with other streams as well, where they go, so it's basically improv, and you go, yeah, within a structure. So it's acting. There's no lines. We don't know what's going to happen, so we are all improvising with each other. So it's like a long-form improv game, but everyone has preset characters that do preset things, which... Yeah. I don't know.
I would argue it's acting, but it's its own form of acting, because there's 3 different places that you can be in at once, right? There's the mathematical, tactical perspective of, okay, what is the room layout? What can I physically do in this moment? There is the narrative form where you're like, okay, so what Tommus is going to do is he's going to run and he's going to try and pick up this javelin and throw it. Yeah. And then there is the immediate form where you are like, oh, hello, Shavaris. So you've got these 3 different heads that are kind of you're flipping between at the same time. So I would say it is acting, but it's its own form.
Yeah. saying it's its own
especially for a DM, because you've got to do that multiple fold.
I mean, the closest thing I've ever been able to equate DMing to from a theatre perspective is directing. Because you are basically directing a scene, but you're using clues and subtle pointers and markers over definitive this should happen next, which is really interesting for storytelling. I mean, it's one of my favorite things about DMing is being descriptive, is walking into a room and going, let me describe this room, and going, how much is good description, how much is over-egging it, and how much is giving the players the little tidbits they need to go, I'm now going to go and do that.
Yep.
I've forgotten who it was, which is really bugging me, but there was a lovely talk that was given that I listened to, which was a DM going, the more you give them, the more they will do. However, if you give them too much, there's decision paralysis and there's too many things they could possibly do. Whereas if you highlight specific things, no more than 3 is a classic example, you will get players moving towards what you want to move towards anyway. But making sure you have all of those pieces in play is what makes the world. And it is a fascinating thought process with DMing that without what you say, nothing exists.
Yeah.
Which changes that. I mean, and also I love playing NPCs, one of my favorite things ever. Because they're not player characters. I haven't got to think like, what's this person going to be good at? What's this person going to be bad at? Which is where every character I play has got to be good at one thing and terrible at something else. It's really important.
Yeah.
But
you can bring even in the heaviest and darkest campaigns, though, you can bring the stupid to NPC characters.
Oh, yeah. Also, NPCs don't need to be good at anything. Yeah. NPCs can be more human than PCs because they don't need to be a hero. Ever. So you have the freedom to go, this person is terrible. I love nothing more than playing villains. Villains are my favorite thing ever because you can go ham. You can go ridiculously ham.
I had not noticed.
Oh, come now. Which one? What
saying
was that for?
Saying that,
what was that for? Which one?
LaRouche.
Oh, I love LaRouche.
I was going to say, like, saying that, Warriors of Waterdeep is the first campaign that you have DM'd for me, so I've not actually experienced you as my DM in full villain mode, because the bosses in Warriors of Waterdeep are quite unique, as in they've not been kind of villains.
No, there are some further in the game. Exactly, there are some further in the game that I'd love to spend more time exploring if we get an opportunity to. Especially because, well, we're talking. But for example, like, no spoilers on this, but there's a hobgoblin in the next bit, if we get to it, called Mrolyet, who is in charge of a horde who are taking over a citadel that belongs to a different god. And I mean, wonderful. That's not a cackling in the corner, maniacal, I've got it all planned out. That's not a LaRouche in the shadows, I've secretly pulled the strings on everything and you're walking into every trap I've ever laid for you. That's a noble leader of a group of people going, what is best for my people right now? I don't think they're a villain. I think they probably don't want the party there, but also if the party are helping them do something, they're not going to hurt them. So that's a really interesting villain. That's a dialectic. I'm rambling now, but that is... I'm so excited by the possibility of that if we get to it. But yeah. Villains aren't always LaRouche level cackling nightmares. Sometimes they're just people with purpose and drive and ambition, but it's counter to the party. It's the only thing you really need, and that's always interesting because it goes in so many different directions. This happened when Dave interviewed me. We talked a lot and didn't roll dice very much. I'm rolling dice again. It's happening.
It's called Talk Together, so...
I know. Look, this is why I can't host the show regularly. I am a rambly son of a bitch. That's what I am. Oh, we have a 4. 4. It's very low down. That's necessarily bad, though. 4. It's the dinner party question.
Yes.
Who would you have?
Which means you ask me this and only this.
Oh, yes. I ask you this and only this. There we go. David's cadence. Hang on. If it's David's cadence, I ask you this and only this. Who would you have at your fantasy gaming table?
Okay. So I've put some thought into this, but also from the perspective of my answer may be completely different next week, but this is the answer that I have for now, and this is what I'm happy with.
Good.
I basically, again, going back to so I do sword fighting. Specifically, I do historical weaponry specialization, and we talk about sword fighting to the public. And part of that chat that I try and sneak in where possible, because it's very focused on the Shakespearean tradition and what the men did, and all these Italian masters that came over, and all the men did all the menning. So I try and, if we have time, sneak in women have always fought. And try and do a little bit on that and be like, hey girls, we've always been on the battlefield as well, just in different ways. So my answer to this will kind of pull on a bit of that history. So I would like my table filled by badass female fighters from history.
Amazing.
So people like Joan of Arc,
cool.
Anne Bonny and Mary Read, Grace O'Malley, Mulfrith, who is less well known, but she used to go up and down the South Bank, dressed in men's clothes, gambling, shagging around, fighting anyone who got in her way.
This is the massive lady, right?
What, in the physical sense?
Yes. Which one was? There was a huge lady who liked to box people, and she was like, this is sort of Victorian London. She walked up and down.
Oh. Mulfrith was Elizabethan, so this was earlier. Mulfrith was fighting with rapiers.
Right, a proper rake.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she was. And Julie d'Aubigny, otherwise known as La Maupin, who was very similar, rakish. She was in the French courts, and I can't remember the exact date, but I'm hoping a friend of mine.
Is she the one who cross-dressed?
They all cross-dressed.
Okay.
So So La Maupin in French courts, and again, she was an expert small sword fighter because her father was either a smith or a master, and I cannot remember which.
Right.
A very good friend of mine wrote an amazing play based on her that I really want to produce at some point, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Yes, and she did cross-dress as well, and she used to fight all the men in the courts, beat them, and then go sleep with their wives. And she got kicked out of the courts and had to go into exile. And yeah, there's loads of women that have these fascinating backstories. And I say women based on the context of the time. Yeah. If we were to put them in nowadays context, I don't know. I mean, they were GNC, they were gender not conforming because most of the time they were cross-dressing, but I don't know. They may still identify as women. They may figure in today's society, actually, I feel more non-binary or more like a man, but it's one of those things where you don't really know. But in the context of the time, they were women who dressed as men to get by. And there was another one, I can't remember her name. There's this Spanish lady who went off. I mean, she did terrible things because she joined the invasion of Southern America as part of Spain's takeover of that. And she fought in a lot of wars there. She did some horrible, horrible things.
So she was a conquistador?
Yeah.
Right.
But disguised as a man. Sure. And when she was discovered, they... instead of killing her, they put her in a nunnery because she was a virgin. They thought that her soul could be saved. They thought she was a virgin because she'd only ever slept with women.
Right.
Yeah. So my theory is behind having all of these women at the table is just being like, look, you don't have to fight against the world. Let's just have fun and you can be whoever you want to be. And we can still like stomp around and kill things and have adventures. But it's in this fantasy place where things are okay and you can be who you want to be. And I would like Mary Shelley to DM.
Oh, very good shout.
Yeah. That's my rambly
that's
like history nerd answer.
So many cool people in that answer as well. Have you read a comic book called Rat Queens?
No, but I've heard of it.
Rat Queens is a four female character party going off and having adventures together, and it is very much geared towards the male adventurers are idiots and don't know what they're doing, and it's joyous. It's very, very good fun. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It plays with all of the stereotypes and then twists them and turns them. It doesn't last very long. I think it only had about 6 books, so it's not a lot, but it is.
There's a comic book series I can get on board with. Theoretically, I know I would enjoy reading comics. I do too many things.
Yeah.
And it's just another thing where it's a rabbit hole of much too much. It's why I haven't got around to watching any Critical Role yet, because I know that is an investment.
It is indeed. Yes, it's worthy investment. It is very worthy of time.
I'm sure it is.
It's a lot.
I'm trying to catch up with old episodes of Roll Together first.
I mean, we produce 7 hours of content a week now. I think to a certain level, anyone who catches up with all of it
so
is
I can
impressive.
Catch up.
Interesting thing about queer theory, because you're saying that people from that time, would they have still cast themselves as women? I mean, the fact that we don't know is possibly the biggest strength of that. One of the things about GNC or queer theory in general that comes up is people going, well, how would we define them now? How do we define ourselves right now? There is this argument that the moment someone defines themselves as GNC of any kind, that is now a marker, a label, a sticker that they now wear. Whereas the whole point surely is that it changes because it changed for you, and it will change depending on the day. Yeah, there is a really interesting dialectic around all of that. So regardless of what they would have decided to be on the day today at the table, they'd still be awesome people doing awesome things.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's a stream I would watch. So
it's basically the Carol Churchill play Top Girls, but D&D, kind of.
Yeah, but I don't think that if we did a D&D game with all of those players or similar people, let's say, that it would be quite as... Because Top Girls is so like making a statement piece after all. Whereas I get the sense that it wouldn't be. It would just be people having fun. And I think that's more valuable somehow. Yeah.
Well, Top Girls was very much, that was right 80s. For that time. And definitely. Now, it's one of those plays that you think, well, actually, maybe there's some films, some plays, some TV series where you're like, well, they didn't need to do that again. That's just a money grab. But something like that, where it is a product of its time, you think, well, maybe it would be interesting to see a more modern... Hang on, didn't they do that as I'm talking about it?
A modern Top Girls? If they did, I can't remember. I mean, I've not seen theatre in a year and a half now.
It's not been done in the last year and a half, we can say that for sure.
But then again, the last play that Em and I saw before lockdown hit was the National's production of The Visit, which is a German play about cultural... basically, everyone in town takes part in the murder of a guy because a rich person asked them to do it because money makes the world go round, which was written in Germany in the 1960s. What a surprise. That is a product of its time. It still has sort of modern overflow, but it's very much a product of its time, but it still works. So maybe that's part of the point. Yeah. Should we roll the dice again? I feel like I'm rambling again.
Roll the dice!
What I'm basically doing is every time I feel like I'm rambling, I'm going, dice. Dice.
Wait, this is outrageous. We're talking about non-roleplay things. We're talking about actory things.
Right, roleplay things. This is a roleplay question.
Okay.
If you could make yourself in D&D, who would you be?
Okay, so this is character class and all of that.
The question is, if you could make yourself in D&D, what would you be? I suppose dragon is an answer.
Okay. So I feel like the classic answer for any actor for this is bard, but actually I do not feel like a bard in any way, shape or form.
I wouldn't be a bard. I mean, I'm not an actor, but I wouldn't be a bard, no.
So, I mean, again, with the sword fighting, maybe fighter, with the... I also do kickboxing, so that's kind of monkish. But if I'm honest to my personality rather than things that I do, I think I like to protect everyone that I can where possible, and also I can be a little bit holier than thou and righteous, so I'm probably a paladin.
Ah, interesting. See, because one of the questions for me, I often say cleric or druid, and I couldn't give less of a toss about nature, and I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. But it's that personality thing. It's that, Healy drawing in, Buffy looking after... Not Buffy, Buff. Paladins are also like proper badasses. Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm not religious. Sorry, in that. Emma just gave me a thumbs up over the computer screen.
Hey, Emma. This is it. I've had a taster of wooing your partner through Tommus, and now I'm just going for, hey Emma, I'm a paladin.
Polly and she's Polly. Go ahead.
Anyway, I think it is that I'm not a very religious person, so it wouldn't be from that side of things, but it is that I would like to be a shield. I would like to protect, and I'm not necessarily the kind of stood there, hair blowing in the wind, all fully armored, but it's don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with my friends kind of can come out when I'm not goofing and going, "Ah."
Oh, I mean, I think it was last week's Warriors is the bit where you and Niall have the "are we going to have a problem" conversation. And it's great because I'm not sure and I'm DMing it. It's really nice.
I love so Niall have only known each other as long as Seekers of Elturel.
Yes.
But I feel like we've said before, we're actually quite similar people.
Yeah.
And kind of have been able to bounce off each other. And we kind of had similar conversations with Barda and Valka, actually, where it didn't go that dark, but I feel comfortable having that conflict with him and knowing that we're both cool with it.
Niall has such an incredibly easygoing vibe. It's remarkable. Like it covers when he's DMing, it covers when he's doing something nasty to a player as a DM, it also covers when he's just playing with someone that I know that I've seen him in games be vicious in character and do really like viciously nasty in character things, all with agreement and all as part of the game. You know, not as like, Niall's a terrible person, far from it. But is always
that
right.
you know of.
No, he's not. Like, he's scary. he has a scary streak to him sometimes, but no, not like that. It's the point that he then comes around afterwards and it's always, is that okay? If it wasn't okay, we can change it. Or even beforehand checking in. And he's such a nice person that it always feels like part of, it's that safe play thing. When you're playing with someone where you know that you can push boundaries with them and play with them because they are so safe, because they are so reliable. And he's wonderful at that. Really value that in him. Which
we had in the series of merely role players Vigil that I was part of. Again, kind of spoilers. There was a moment towards the end where we did have a moment of character conflict and
PvP.
But verbal. And my character, who is kind of paladin-ish. She was a shield maiden for the Morrigan thousands of years ago and has been ended up in the modern day, so doesn't quite get how the modern day works. She got a little bit magic of the woods, airy-fairy, righteous about that kind of detached perspective of reality where, well, bad things have to exist, right? That you can get from those kinds of characters. And one of the kind of the modern human characters got angry with her and told her to fuck off. And the guy that played him afterwards was like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have." And I was like, it's totally cool. Like, I expected that. She was being an arse but didn't realize it. And you know, it's that safe play thing of have the conversation afterwards. But I think I'm very easygoing with it, but we'd not maybe expected that to come up in the merely role players the atmosphere.
Not part of that universe.
Yeah, it's not usually been, because for so long we played versions of ourselves. So then to switch to characters, which we were all gunning for and wanted to do and get to play all these weird and wonderful.
Harder because you were used to playing yourselves. Yeah. So it was still a very safe space because we're all friends as well, who have known each other, and we played games outside, but we definitely had to have the conversation afterwards of, no, it's totally okay, it's fine, I expected that. And we do a post-show chat as well where we kind of went through all that. That's good.
For the audience's benefit. So if you can't be safe in advance, be safe immediately afterwards.
It's a weird thing with safe play because I just got that too.
Go to the pharmacy.
By that point, it's too late.
It's too late.
The thing with safe play that I really, it's one of the things that has come up as part of running a company about this and organising it and so on. I love the way that it now happens, because I was in games when I was first starting out playing when I was a lot younger, and when I started doing 5e 5 years ago now, where we didn't do that. And we didn't know to do it. Like, it wasn't discussed. It wasn't part of the game at all. The fact that it's now in a published book is amazing, and exactly the way it should be going. There are things in those games where I go, they were amazing. It was incredible roleplay, incredible storytelling together, but it was not safe. knowing now that we can still create those incredible moments and it is safe is really, really nice, because that was a worry. I'm not going to lie. The freedom to go, we've been playing for 7 hours. My character's just stepped in front of your character to die because A, had a death wish anyway, and B, it was more important that your character survived. And then the DM had me meet go to death, and death to go, there is nothing. You wizard who believes that there are things in the afterlife, there's nothing in the afterlife, it's all a myth. And just had me going, wow, this is a lot to take in after 7 hours of playing and it being a day and all the rest of it. It was incredible. I wouldn't change it for the world, there's no regrets, but there is also the sense of, wish we'd talked about that beforehand a little bit, because it could easily have gone so horribly wrong, and we're really lucky that it didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame we can't show safe play in that same way, because session zeros are so dull. Here's a list of things we're not talking about, or you can check in about. No.
Yeah. I guess it's maybe striking a balance between acknowledging, because there's been quite a few moments watching streams back where we'll pop up a pause card, but the audience don't get to see that. We'll cut from the conversation as it's about to go to the pause card, and then we'll cut to, okay, we've negotiated, we know what's going to happen, it's going to be okay, post pause card.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's maybe a practice to try, I don't literally have a pause card for this, I've been using my light switch, essentially doing we're just going to take a little pause for a sec to negotiate this, hold on. Hey team, we're back, so what are you doing? But I think that only works in some situations.
Yeah, I think people need the freedom to say that they don't want what they say during a negotiation to be shown, because, when you're negotiating a difficult moment, there are things we say that we look back on and go, that we shouldn't have said that, but in the moment it was right to question. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I don't really have an answer to it, because it is the reason we don't live play. The reason we don't live play is it is safer not to. There's all sorts of other good production reasons, like rotating minis and all the rest of it, but safety works best if we pre-record, because then you can have all that and still stutter it. Yeah. It also means we can focus on pause cards and not on all the other tools like X's and O's and that sort of thing, which are still fantastic, but they're designed for live play. They're designed for, we must keep going. How do we show we keep going? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Should we roll some more dice? Roll some more dice.
Roll that dice / dice.
Roll that dice. Should I roll 2 so we're rolling that dice? No, that's silly, because then we won't know what the number is.
Then which one would you do? Yeah.
It could be with advantage. You could pick one. Let's mix up the format. David's not here. We're playing.
I've not memorized the numbers.
Sorry, I've got it. We have rolled that dice, because we've rolled 2. They'll both bounce across the screen now. And I've got 2 question choices for you. You can pick whichever one you want.
Okay.
It's either, where do you start when making a character, or what's the funniest moment you've experienced in game?
Okay. Now I want to answer both.
You could also answer both one after the other.
Okay. Where I start when making a character, I think, is simpler. It's usually in order of what is the campaign going to be as the DM has described it to me? What character class have I not played yet? Because I know there's loads of people who've played more D&D than I have that have played less character classes, because I've played so many one-shots, I've been trying to bounce around as many.
Sure.
And I've generally, most of it, my choices for character class has been working my way up to dealing with wizards.
Yeah, there's no denying it.
Because, I mean, you've played on non-air game, non-air, off-stream.
Home games.
Not aired, home games with me, where I've played characters who can wield magic, and I've been fine, but I've also freaked out about it a little bit.
Well,
I've flapped.
The games that we've played, you've gone for caster classes that tend to be a bit more easy access, like sorcerers.
Yes.
Taking meta magic out of the equation for a second, and an artificer. So that is, much more condensed spell list. It's less of the wizard. Here are your 1 bajillion options. Off you go. Sort yourself out, which is a lot.
Much.
Yeah. Oh, you need a mind like George's. You need a mind and a brain like George's to handle that sort of thing.
I don't. But I do want to give them a try at
great.
some point. I do want to work my way through. In fact, at this point, I have not played cleric and wizard. Blood hunter kind of is peripheral. I'm about to play a monk for the first time in a one-shot on Sunday, and I'm very much looking forward to playing her. Mm-hmm. And then I will have completed the set. So then I will have to make other decisions about how to come up with a character. Cool. But aside from those kind of basic questions, it kind of comes down to what does 8-year-old Nat want to see on screen?
Yeah.
So
what would be cool?
So yeah, exactly. Yeah. What have I felt? What kind of stories have I felt have not been told as much, Valka? That I would love to be involved with or try.
Yeah.
Valka also came from a place of, I just played Mirren,
yes,
who had a very dark backstory, which we didn't dig into a huge amount. There was a lot more that could have been, but we kind of got the, yeah. And then also my character for merely role players, Gwynedd, was a shield maiden. Also her backstory is kind of dark, because shield maiden of the Morrigan, who is not a cheery goddess.
No, she's not.
So Valka was definitely, I want to play a happy character with a less complicated backstory.
And yet it was still kind of tragic, but in a sort of life way.
But yeah, in a normal way, like husband who died from sickness, which does not happen very often. It's just one of those, the farm, peasants, there's not many magic people around to woo-woo magic healing. Like, it's just a normal, if very sad, thing.
Do you need like a sort of, doesn't need to be tragic necessarily, but like quite a sort of detailed backstory to get into them? Do you find that knowing their history helps you a lot?
Yes and no. I think but then again, actually, I guess context, those characters that I've talked about are the ones where I've played longer campaigns, right? For a one shot, no. Yeah. Like, because you've not got time.
No.
You're there to do the thing and have some fun along the way. And you can pick basic personality types that come out. Like the Artificer was based on, I want to make the sea captain from The Simpsons. That was his personality type.
It was. That's very fair.
So I think, so for the characters where I thought this was going to be the simpler, quicker question to answer. For the characters where I have thought about the backstory, I do need to think in detail because I panic about coming up with stuff on the fly, which I know I can do. Yeah. But I think it's the control freak in me. Like, when we set up with Warriors of Waterdeep, like, it's not come up. It didn't need to come up, but just in case, I came up with a list of family members for Tommus.
Which we never used.
But that's okay. But I had them in my head just in case a passing reference was made. And I think a passing reference was made to the fact that his uncles taught him how to leathercraft.
Yes.
But that, I don't think I would have, without kind of sitting down and thinking about it in my head beforehand, like, I had it kind of set that he had these, one halfling and one dwarven uncle,
nice,
who were a couple who were the leathercrafters, and he apprenticed with them. And then if the question had come up, then I would have more of a solid foundation from which to spring, I think. Yes. So I quite like to think about those things just in case, and it helps me provide a slightly more rounded version of the character, I think.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because for one-shots I do the same thing, very broad strokes. Like, not sort of haven't thought about it, more just like a generalised, if it comes up, I've got something. Yeah. But one-shots are also great for going, and then this happened, and I'm going to start rambling about new exciting things I threw in, because that one-shots have that sort of energy for me. Whereas for campaigns, I often go quite granular. It's just nice to know. Yeah. The one thing I realised, though, looking back on it, is having said that his uncle by marriage is a dwarf, and I should have possibly been, hey Chris, could I speak Dwarven? Or basic Dwarven? Yeah, which could have been useful in this campaign. Could have been useful in this campaign, and we didn't do that. What did you speak instead? I can't remember. Just common. Oh, common and halfling. Yeah, I don't think you had a language choice, but we could have found a way to fit that in. The optional lineages are all in there now. We could have done it. We should have done it. Maybe for the next campaign? Maybe...
He'll suddenly speak.
Maybe he always did, and maybe his Dwarven's really pigeon. I don't know, like we always work it out if we need to.
Like
There's ways of
the equivalent of bonjour. Hello there.
Hello there.
As Nolan would say.
I did say to Noel when we were looking at Nom, then I went, I don't think she's very talkative. What do you think? He went, nah, she won't be, but I will. I think that came across. Go on then.
The question?
Funniest moment.
Okay. So Warriors of Waterdeep has had loads of funny moments. I think the entire campaign has just been joyful and very silly. And I was thinking back when I watched Anna's talk together, and I was like, a lot of my answers are going to be the same. Like when out of nowhere the Wand of Wonder produced gems, and then we were all like, ah! That was fantastic. I think outside of Roll Together, back to merely role players, back to Vigil.
Yep.
So, the character that I had an argument with, Cameron, his stock character type was like the Punisher, basically, but younger, like in his 20s, Punisher, the classic edgelord. But
the character I never play. I get that.
You roll your eyes, but the guy playing him, Chris Starkey, is like the loveliest guy, and all of his other characters have been like old man Starkey. So this is very different for him.
I just can't play edgelords. I can't. Like, I can do it as an NPC, but I can't imagine doing it as a character for weeks. It would just.
I try, but I'm goof.
It's just not in me.
Brutal goof. So, Cameron, baby Punisher, kind of. That campaign, we had him. We had myself, who was this kind of big bushy hair, slightly, what is this human world? I don't know, sort of Welsh shield maiden who had taken most of her knowledge from the modern world off Briar, third character, who was a Puka, the equivalent of Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream. So fey creature, very mischievous, was basically telling her all sorts of bollocks about how the human world works, and she just went with it because she didn't know any better.
Right.
And Ginny, who is a 700-year-old, essentially classic witch, again with big granny energy.
Great, lovely.
Punisher character, 3 mad magic characters.
This party sounds excellent. We gotta go and save my family. How about, first of all, look at that tree. Is it a tree or is it some kind of beast?
Yeah, actually it's my bow staff. Have you wrapped up warm, Cameron? It's very much that energy. So it got to a point where we were building up to facing the big bad, and we had to and it just there's a series of 2 episodes, kind of, I think it's episode 3 and 4, where just the teasing and the prodding of Cameron just escalated and escalated and escalated, to the point where, as being designated champions of the forest by Briar, we each had to be imbued with a magical item that would give us this power. And Gwynedd got a bracer, and Ginny got like I think it was a necklace or something like that. And Briar, for Cameron, made him some wind chimes on a hat. And it was just this escalation and escalation and escalation. It was just like, it was bullying. But it was very funny.
Here you go, Batman. I got you some wind chimes. But I'm the knight.
Exactly. That's what it was. It was, and it's just the escalation to that point. Go listen to Vigil.
I feel really sorry for Chris Starkey now.
Yeah. He was fine. He had fun.
All he wanted to do was play an edgelord, and you wouldn't let him.
Nope.
You wouldn't let him. He had to stop him.
Yep.
Just cruel and unreasonable is what that is. That's almost as bad as making Batman puke up for no good reason.
I am not.
It's still my favorite thing. My favorite thing we've ever done.
So funny. So funny. It's that, and the gems and that are some of the highlights. And like the iceberg just gets, there was a lot of stupid fun.
The iceberg is a prime example of, well, but if you do this, then that, what have we done?
Oh no. This is where my actions have taken me.
This is meant to be serious. don't think it was, but yeah. Oh, we're out of time, Nat, but that has been such a lovely ramble.
Yay, lots of rambling.
We rolled fewer dice than David does. I think that's good, bad, I don't know. We did it, it's good. Chat, I hope you enjoyed our ramble, and hopefully regular progress will resume next week, at which point there'll be more dice rolls and more good segues and more puns. If you were here for the puns, I apologise. Unless we can throw any puns now, Nat? Non sequitur puns?
Oh, no, you can't just like throw a pun out of midair. It's got to come from something.
I thought you were about to put a pun in at the end of that, which would have been perfect, but you didn't, so...
Look, I'm not David.
No, couldn't do it.
Unless I am. I'm not. Although we've never been in the same room at the same time, so
maybe
who knows?
That's why I'm interviewing today. I'm going to do the outro now.
Okay. You've got this. I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, everyone, for Talk Together with David Shears. Not today. We are Roll Together RPG on all social media, so follow us there to find out more about all the lovely things that we're doing. We have shows on Monday at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. GMT, and on Tuesdays from 6 p.m. GMT, which is 10 a.m. Pacific time, PST. And on Tuesdays, it's 7 p.m. GMT BST, which is 11 a.m. Pacific time. There we go. That's the badger. At the moment, we are streaming Flustered in the Feywild on Monday with a new episode coming out. We took a week off for our Adventures in Oz one-shot, which was excellent, silly fun. And Flustered resumes duty on Monday, and on Tuesday is the final episode of Warriors of Waterdeep, and we get to see the grand finale and
all the things.
And then the week after, we've got a brand new show. Also, probably a good time to mention the week after we will be changing our start time, so we'll be starting at 6 p.m. GMT/BST from now on for every show. So that's going to be from the week after next. So not next week. Next week is still 7 p.m. The week after that will be 6 p.m. That was a good time to bring that up. Yeah, definitely. Good.
A good time.
All of our shows are streamed at twitch.tv/rolltogetherrpg. They're all on YouTube at youtube.com/rolltogetherrpg. And there are podcast versions, and so you can find us everywhere, all over the internet, all the shows, all the time. Don't stop watching. Right, massive thank you to our D20 Club on Patreon, all our sponsors and supporters, and Nat, thank you so much for joining us today. Have you got anything particular you'd like to plug?
You can follow me on the social medias at Winter Natters. I'm also not on TikTok, but I am on Twitter and Instagram.
The links will be in chat.
And I'm doing a show. I'm in a play.
Rock and roll.
Maybe if the world doesn't shut down by then. Yeah, I'm going to play. It's a bit of a dark one, so if mental health is not something you want to sit in a dark room for an hour and watch, then maybe not for you. But yeah, it's called Chasing Ghosts. It's going to be on at the Etc. Theatre in London on the 7th, 9th, 10th and 11th of August as part of the Camden Fringe. If you're after something a bit lighter, I'm also producing and directing a play that's going to be part of the Camden Fringe digital programme called Jammed Heart Lemon Curd, that's about women in their older age. One is 50s, one is 70s, having new experiences and reconnecting with themselves, and it's very silly fun. That's going to be available to watch from your home. You can buy a ticket and watch the stream. And
can we put links in chat for all the ticket links and stuff? Are they available? Are they on sale?
Yes, I can give you links to
I'll
those.
make sure they're all in. Yep. That's fine.
And Merely Role Players continues.
Yes.
I for the Vigil series, I'm the one doing sound design. Gwyneth, my character, will return. Mm-hmm. But she's not in the current series. And I think that by the time this goes out, they're just about they're coming towards the latter end of the current Vigil series, so there's plenty to binge listen to if that's your vibe.
Links in chat, of course, no problem at all. Awesome. Thank you very much, Nat. That is excellent stuff. Right, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining us. And what does David say? Stay classy at the table.
Stay classy at the table.
Stay classy at the table. Just can't.